Right now, as you watch this, roughly 60% of Americans say they feel lonely. Not sometimes, not occasionally, chronically, persistently, every single day. And before you think that's not me, researchers say lonely people are almost never able to identify themselves as lonely. This isn't about being an introvert. It's not about being shy. It's not even about how many friends you have. The loneliness epidemic is killing people, literally, and almost nobody is talking about it seriously, because we built a world optimized for everything except human connection, and the consequences are more devastating and more surprising than you probably imagined. Let's start with the scale of this, because it will shock you. In 1985, the average American said they had 3 close friends they could talk to about something serious. By 2021, that number had dropped to 1. One person, for half the population, that person is their spouse, and for 12%, it's no one. Dr. Robert Weiss, who coined the term loneliness as a clinical concept in the 1970s, described it as a chronic disease of disconnection. And like all chronic diseases, it compounds over time. Former U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy declared it a public health crisis in 2023 and put the statistic in context. Being lonely is as dangerous to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Not a figure of speech, not a metaphor. Smoking 15 cigarettes every day. Now, loneliness isn't new. Humans have always experienced it. But what's new is the scale and the speed. Before the internet, before smartphones, you had friction. Getting together with someone required effort, and that effort forced connection. You had to physically go somewhere, show up, be present, awkward silences and all. Smartphones gave us the ability to opt out of all of that. And we did. Here's something that changes how you feel about loneliness. It's not a flaw, it's a feature. Neuroscientist Dr. John Cacioppo, the man who spent 30 years studying loneliness at the University of Chicago, described it as a biological alarm system. Just like hunger tells you, go find food. Just like pain tells you, something is damaged. Loneliness tells you, you need social connection, right now. In early human societies, being cut off from the group meant death, so evolution made social rejection feel like physical pain, because it was. Cacioppo's brain scans showed that social rejection activates the exact same brain regions as physical pain. The same regions, identical activation. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a broken arm and being left out, which is why being ignored, rejected, or excluded genuinely hurts. It was supposed to. But here's where the system breaks down. Hunger is designed to stop when you eat. Pain is designed to stop when you heal. But chronic loneliness, it doesn't turn off. Even when you're around people. Cacioppo found that chronically lonely people go into threat modes. Their nervous system assumes the world is hostile. They become hyper-vigilant. They see rejection coming even when it isn't there. They pull back, which makes them more isolated, which makes the alarm louder. It becomes self-reinforcing, a loneliness loop, and without intervention, it accelerates. Now let's talk about how the modern world actively, structurally makes this worse. In the 1960s, sociologist Ray Oldenburg identified what he called third places, spaces that aren't home and aren't work, where people gather informally, pubs, barbershops, diners, town squares, community centers, places where you didn't need a reason to show up. Between 1970 and 2000, the United States lost over 50% of its community gathering spaces. They became parking lots, shopping centers, and Amazon warehouses. At the same time, urban planning shifted to car-centric design, houses with garages you drive into and close behind you. No reason to see your neighbors. Robert Putnam, the Harvard political scientist, called this bowling alone. Americans were still doing activities, but doing them solo, not in groups. He documented a collapse in virtually every form of civic participation: church attendance, civic clubs, dinner parties, neighborhood associations, all declining simultaneously. Then social media arrived, and we thought it was going to fix it. In 2006, 5% of Americans used social media. By 2023, it was 82%, the most rapid adoption of any technology in human history. And loneliness went up, not down. Up. This is not a coincidence. Study after study shows that passive social media use, scrolling, watching, liking without interacting, increases loneliness scores significantly. Psychologist Jean Twenge at San Diego State University tracked this for over 10 years. She found that teens who spent 5+ hours a day on social media were 3 times more likely to feel lonely than those who spent 1 hour. It turns out we confused seeing people with being seen. Let's be extremely clear about what chronic loneliness physically does to the human body. Harvard Medical School's study of 300,000 people found loneliness increases mortality risk by 26%. It increases the risk of heart disease by 29%, stroke by 32%, dementia by a staggering 50%. Dr. Steve Cole at UCLA found that chronic loneliness actually changes gene expression. Specifically, it regulates genes that cause inflammation and regulates antiviral genes. Translation: loneliness makes your immune system worse. It makes your body assume it's under constant attack and burn itself out trying to fight nothing. And this happens after just 1 night of poor sleep caused by loneliness. 1 night. Multiply that by years, and you understand why Cacioppo called loneliness more lethal than obesity. And the group suffering the most isn't elderly people living alone, it's young people. A 2020 Cigna study of 10,000 Americans found Gen Z, those born between 1997 and 2012, were the loneliest generation ever recorded. More lonely than the elderly, more lonely than millennials. The generation that grew up the most connected technologically is the most disconnected emotionally. Jonathan Haidt's research in the anxious generation documents the moment this happened. 2012, the year smartphone ownership crossed 50% among teens. In 2012, for the first time, teens started spending more time on phones than with friends in person, and their mental health fell off a cliff. Now, and this is the part people never talk about, loneliness is actually reversible with the right interventions. The Harvard study of adult development is the longest study of human happiness ever conducted, running for 85 years, tracking over 700 people from young adulthood to death. Their conclusion: the single biggest predictor of a long, healthy, happy life isn't wealth, isn't fame, isn't even physical health. It's the quality of your relationships. Not how many friends you have, not how often you see people. The quality of those connections. Robert Waldinger, the current director of the Harvard study, said, "Good relationships don't just protect our bodies, they protect our brains. Older adults who feel connected have sharper memories, slower cognitive decline." So what actually works? What does the science actually say? Intervention studies show that the most effective antidotes to loneliness aren't digital, they're analog. A 2023 meta-analysis of 50 studies found that physical co-presence, being in the same room as another person, reduced loneliness markers significantly, even without conversation. This is why co-working spaces, library study halls, and coffee shops, what urban planners now call third places 2.0, are having a genuine mental health impact. Finland, consistently ranked the happiest country in the world, embeds social interaction into its infrastructure. Housing is designed around shared courtyards. School meals are communal. Elderly integration is built into planning law. Japan, which had one of the world's worst loneliness problems, created the world's first Ministry of Loneliness in 2021. They assigned a minister specifically to the problem, created community connection programs, and within 2 years reported significant drops in reported loneliness. It works when you treat it like the crisis it is. So let's make this personal, because this isn't abstract. When was the last time you had a conversation that wasn't transactional? That wasn't about logistics, plans, or work. When was the last time someone asked you how you actually were, and you actually told them the truth? Research by Dr. Nicholas Epley at the University of Chicago found that people consistently underestimate how much other people want to connect with them. We sit across from strangers on trains and assume they don't want to talk. They do. We see an old friend's number and think, they're probably too busy. They're not. The barrier isn't that people don't want connection. The barrier is that everyone is waiting for someone else to go first. And that's the final, most important thing loneliness research teaches us. It is curable. And almost always, the cure is someone choosing to go first. Loneliness evolved as an alarm system 300,000 years ago. It was critical to survival. We built cities, phones, and social media, and accidentally switched the alarm permanently on for millions of people. And now we're at a crossroads. We can either keep scrolling past each other, or we can recognize the alarm for what it is, not a weakness, not something to be ashamed of, a survival signal telling all of us to reach out. So here's your challenge from me. Text one person today. Not a meme, not a link, just, "I was thinking about you." See what happens. Because the research says they were probably thinking about you too. If this changed how you see something you thought you already understood, that's exactly what this channel exists for. See you in the next one.